Welcome to episode number 34, you guys. I'm your main host, Coach YoYo. We have our co-host, Coach Nik, and Colton, obviously, in the background. And today is really awesome because I've been coaching her for about a year now, and there's so many things that we want to talk about. So we're trying to keep it between, the hour and a half of our normal podcast. But today we have Sherri. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here.
Just so you guys know, Sherri is kind of like my hybrid client, I would say. So she does online because she lives out in Hurricane and Fountain Green. For those of you that don't know where that is, it's about how many hours from our gym?
Probably an hour and a half, Fountain Green, but Hurricane's another 3.5 hours south of Fountain Green.
Right.
So
yeah. So she sometimes would join Carol. Obviously, you guys know Carol. She would join Carol, and then would drive together. And I would see Sherri. I think I would see you probably once a month on a typical basis. Sometimes I see you more often. Sometimes twice a month. It really depends.
And sometimes not for 2 months.
Sometimes for like 2 months go by, and she goes like, "Well, I miss you," and I'm like, "I miss you too. Let's come in." So we do have clients that are online only. We have clients that are in person. We do have some hybrid clients as well that we allow them to come in once in a while to just train with us, and especially at her age and learning how to lift, learning forms, learning the gym, learning the equipment. So there's a lot of things that we want to talk about. So a little bit about today's podcast is. She started with me about a year ago. She traveled to Europe for a whole month, mind you, and she lived with her current husband in Hurricane and to Fountain Green. They travel a lot. I don't think I've had any client that travel as much as Sherri. So, Sherri, let's have some introduction of who you are, where you're from, and kind of talk about what it's like before your journey with us. Where were you? What was your thought process around food, gym, and weight loss and all that stuff?
Okay, so I knew about you and Unfinished Lifestyle a long time before I contacted you and said, hey, for at least a year, I work for a company that I teach classes, mindset classes, and part of a team that does that, and we had some of your clients as students, and that's how Carol's one of our coaches, and I knew Carol was working with you. She learned about you from one of the students we had, one of the clients she coached. So, but Carol and I she lives in Fountain Green also, and so we're really good friends. We've known each other over a decade, and we kind of flip-flopped how we did things. She started with you first. I started with hormone replacement therapy first. And then she started hormone replacement, and I started with you. Yeah. So I've been remarried for 6.5 years, and my lifestyle changed drastically. One of the things, I got to move from Orem to Fountain Green, and Fountain Green's a small place, about 1,200 people maybe.
But it's lovely. We were there for Carol's daughter's wedding, and I drove by and I was like, this is peaceful. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, sure, nice and quiet. Yeah, only 1,200 people. It's got to be relaxing.
We're driving past some land or houses. I'm like, oh, that's for sale. I'm like, babe, should we buy a house over here? Like, it's very peaceful. Yeah.
I love it down there. I love it. We live downtown Fountain Green. So like our address is like right downtown, but even though we're downtown, we live in the middle of 7 acres. So
we don't have that here.
So no stoplights, and somebody I was talking to in the mall down in St. George were like, oh, take us with you. I'm like, well, you got to understand, in Fountain Green, there are no stoplights, there's no traffic, but there's also no DoorDash, no Uber anything, no pizza deliveries.
I mean, that's nice because you save money.
Yeah. But there's Amazon, yeah?
But Amazon Prime, like you can get Amazon Prime deliveries here the next day or within 2 days. Yes. It takes about a week.
Over there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's crazy.
It's like living in the past.
Yeah.
So I have a daughter that lives in Santaquin. So if I need something, she can get it the next day or the day after that. So I'll order it and have it sent to her house. So
And it's
I'll go get it.
Yeah.
She's not quite that nice. No, she's great.
So you were married.
And I moved down to Fountain Green, and when I moved, I was strong enough to buck hay, and we do small bales between 65 and 75 pounds. And by the time I contacted you and started with you, I couldn't lift a bale, let alone throw one, because I just got sedentary. I gained probably 30 pounds after we got married. We traveled a lot. My husband likes to go out to eat. That's his social.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we run a lot. You talked about lifestyle. So the first couple months we were married, I remember we came home from church one time and he said, "Hey, why don't you go throw some things in a suitcase?" And I'm like, "What kind of things?" And he said, "Oh, just enough stuff for 2 or 3 days." I'm like, "Yeah, but like, where are we going?" "I don't know. We're just going to." And I said, "How soon do I need to be ready to leave?" He said, "How about a half an hour?"
Oh, no.
Wow. So he's very like spontaneous.
Oh, absolutely.
He gets a thought in his head. He's like, let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be kind of a fun way to live, though.
100%. But I would get a text like once a week, every other week.
Yeah.
"Hey, we're going here. What should I do?" And I'm like, "What? You went on vacation last week. What are you talking about?" And then the week after that, "Hey, we're going to meet." And I'm like, "What is?" So that's your lifestyle. And that's just
really
your life.
Is.
Yeah.
It really is. And with having 2 homes, then we've bounced back and forth quite. We spent most of the cold months down south, but we come home every month, probably for a week or something like that. So it's that back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's hard about that, I mean, it was hard at first, but I'm pretty used to it now, is that I just need to be able to have enough time to quick throw meals together for the day, because we're going to be on the road and he's going to stop at McDonald's or whatever. And how am I going to stay on my plan and whatnot? And so when I came off the cut back in November, eventually I asked you if I could have at least once a week cheat meals, because like I said, that's our lifestyle. And it's important to do what keeps my husband happy and, and do things that he enjoys. So, but like I said, I've always been somewhat athletic. I've always been able to, if I needed to lose weight, I might have to work at it, but I've been able to figure out how to do that. And it got to the point where I couldn't. It didn't matter how long I would spend on a treadmill or however long I would, and maybe I would only try for 2 or 3 weeks, but I would not see any difference in like my body, my fitness level, my weight, whatever. And I was frustrated. And that's when I started looking into biosynthetic hormone replacement, because it was like, what is wrong with me? So I'd been through menopause and I had zero energy. And I raised 4 kids and I never wrote anything down. I raised 4 kids and I worked full time.
Wow.
And I was at work, I had a lot of responsibilities. I didn't have to write anything down. I just kept it all. And all of a sudden I had brain fog like crazy. Right? Like, what is wrong with me?
You're tired all the time.
I was exhausted.
And
I was taking 2 or 3 naps a day. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was 59, 60 years old. What is wrong with me? Right?
Speaking about naps, for those of you that are listening to this, and if you're at age of 25 plus 30s, if you're in the 40s or 50s, as a man, as if you're a male, I remember when my test level was so low and I didn't realize it, and I was napping every day for like 2-3 hours, and Jess was like, "That's not normal. Why are you napping for 2-3 hours?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then sure enough, I got my blood work done. My testosterone, kid you not, was 124.
When I finally did enough research that I decided that was the way to go. And I know some people aren't going to go that way.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you're a female and you're old enough that you've been through menopause or you're in perimenopause, look into it, because night and day, life and death, literally difference. When I had my blood work done and I went into the hormone clinic, the gal that was working with me said, "Oh, and your testosterone level," and she looked at it and she said, "I've never seen one that low."
What was the number? 3? Oh, yeah, those naps. Those naps are crucial.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And I mean, when I got my first set of pellets, like,
how quickly did you feel the
difference? I mean, the next day I was like, whoa. and it got better. I mean, like, because they say it takes a month for you to reach your peak, but for me that was, and I know there are some people that, you know, they do DHEA or something like that. My Western medicine normal doctor would not
approve of that.
He would not do my blood work for me.
Yeah.
I wanted him to order it so that insurance would cover it, and he would not. But and he had a thing with you're a female, you're supposed to have low testosterone level, you're not supposed to have high, you know, testosterone level. And he wouldn't even go there, and he had no idea my level was 3.
Yep.
Right. But what's been really fun is through this journey, he's taken me off of high blood pressure medication that I'd been on for probably 8 years, maybe 10.
Wow.
And he was just super ecstatic about that. My cholesterol levels dropped and balanced out. He wasn't really worried about them. I was, because my dad had open heart 4-way bypass surgery when he was about my age. Oh. And I, in some of my categories, I scored in the high cholesterol level, but his office people that went over my blood work with me at that time said, the doctor's not worried about it because your ratios are okay. I'm like, I'm worried about it because of what happened to my dad.
It's because they're trained to be reactive, not proactive. What you're doing is being proactive. You, family history, your dad dealt with this stuff. You see it, you don't like it, made you uncomfortable, so you want to do something now to take care of it, the same way you were doing with your hormones. To them, that doesn't make sense. Why essentially fix something if it's not broken, you know? I wanted to ask, what does your doctor think now?
Okay, so that's
about the hormones.
Well, he says, well, I never really said I was against it. I was a little bit of a smart.
And Johan and I have full heads of hair. Yeah, come on, dude. Let's not lie. Let's not kid.
Why you gotta do that?
Okay, I'm a little bit mouthy sometimes, right? And when I sat in his office, I basically said to him, well, when your wife goes through menopause, call me. You know, anyway.
Someone's got to say it though, because it's true. I have 3 women who, from starting with me and looking at their blood work, we saw they were perimenopausal. So we got them on some progesterones, we got them on a DHEA or on the pellets and all that. We've been able to manage it, getting them through and easing them through the menopause, and still being able to, you know, whether we're trying to go through a health phase or we're trying to lose the fat or what have you, because you probably know going through, we'll never know. I'm never going to pretend like I know what it's going to be like. Can't imagine it's fun.
No.
So we've got to find a way to manage it.
It addresses hot flashes. It addresses not sleeping through the night. I mean, it's just.
What about mentally, like mental health wise?
Okay.
What's the toll of that?
The biggest thing is like when we went to the hormone clinic, my husband came with me and he's like, she's grouchy. and I'm like,
your husband said that?
Oh, yeah.
Was it like a blink twice if you're going to like die? He's in there like, help me, guys.
That's hilarious. Oh,
I'm like, gosh. You don't need to do that. You don't need to emphasize that part. But I can tell when my pellets are running out because I am more irritable. Yeah. And he can tell too. Yeah. So it's, like I said, night and day difference with that. And so my doctor, coming back to that, my husband and I are getting ready to send in papers to serve another LDS mission. Nice. And I went in for my physical and he's filling out and he's like, he says to me, I want you to stand up over there and I want you to jump up and touch the ceiling. I'm like, what?
Wait, was this the first?
This is the second.
The
mission.
second one. Okay. Was this before or after working with me?
This is after working with you.
Okay, got it.
After, so he's already taken me off a high blood pressure medication. My cholesterol levels have already come down after working with you.
Got it.
And so just in the last month or so, I went up and had this missionary physical.
Yeah.
And he says, I want you to stand up over there and jump up and touch the
Did he
ceiling.
think we gave you like super soldier serum, like to turn you into
what
Captain
month
America?
When was this?
This was in February.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Last
Last month. Okay.
So I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, really. And so, and I had been it was one day I came up with Carol and worked with you, and you had us jumping up on the box.
Yes.
And I'm like,
that was fun though. You did really good. You did really good.
It's fun for us.
She hated it.
Well, yeah, it's fun for us, not for them.
But I'm like, you don't know what you're asking. I just died jumping up. Anyway, and so I did it, and he's like, really? That was great. That was great. He's all excited. And I'm like, I don't remember doing this last time. He said, you are the only potential senior missionary I've ever asked to do that. I guess the younger missionaries have that as part of their physical test. He said,
to be able to jump and touch the ceiling?
Well, to see if they could just,
okay.
do a standing jump straight up, and so I did it. And he's like, I knew you could do it. And so I just had to ask you to do it to say I asked a senior missionary to do this.
I love that, though. I love that.
So I think his tone with me has changed since that initial asking about the hormone replacement. And he's been super, super excited about the changes I've made physically and how it's shown up in my health. And like I said, he said I'm the only potential senior missionary that he's ever asked to do the jump test.
But the thing I like, though, that he seemed excited about it. And now it hopefully has given him a different perspective as to why we need to monitor the hormones. Because I had a client on here, Austin. He was on our podcast like probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And when he started working with me, his testosterone was in the low 200 or 300s, if I remember correctly. And his doctor wouldn't do anything to touch it. Nothing. And he wanted him to eat like 1,200 calories to try to lose 30 pounds to avoid developing fatty liver. I got him up to like 3,500. We dropped a ton of fat, put on a ton of muscle mass. We have the DEXAs to show. And we got him on testosterone. And I mean, obviously that's going to help. And his doctor said that it makes no medical sense that feeding him that much food and putting him on testosterone helped him to lose the fat and put on the muscle mass. And he's going to attribute it to the fact that he's taking a form of steroids. And this is a medical doctor, a licensed medical doctor through the board of like medicine. We're not doctors. We're never going to pretend to be. But how is it that as health coaches and have the understanding of things that we do, we know the importance of hormones when it comes to taking care of the body? But then doctors tell you, we don't need to check it, you're fine.
The more we do this for a living, the more we think of certain doctors, right? There's many different kinds of doctors, right? So we work with a lot of wellness doctors with the TRTs, HRTs, and things like that, and they understand the value of that.
That functional medicine has a place.
Hey, absolutely. But the regular
Western medicine
doctor have zero clue.
I think it's because just the same way with nutrition, when you go through medical school and all that, because I had a client who was going to school to be a cardiologist, they don't really touch on nutrition. They don't really touch on hormones. Unless you're going to specialize in endocrinology or any like urology, you don't learn about hormones or proper nutrition. So I think if Western medicine could find a way to incorporate proper education around both hormones and nutrition, a lot of these crazy concepts like what we're doing wouldn't seem so crazy. It would be normal. But I think it's because it's not coming from the traditional education or traditional, like doctor and what they learn. People don't want to believe that it's real.
Well, and this is my own personal bias and take on things. There are two different things. First of all, it's the practice of medicine.
Yep.
They are practicing. They're learning as they go. There's no way one individual human being could go to 4 years or whatever of medical school and however many years of residency and all that and know absolutely everything about every system in your body and know everything about all the drugs that are out there.
Yep.
So they're learning as they go, and each individual body responds to things differently.
Exactly.
Right? There's that. But then there's also, where do they get their information? Have you been in doctors' waiting rooms and you're sitting there for hours on end and drug rep after drug rep after drug rep walks in and gives them all kinds of free samples and brings them lunches and stuff like that.
Takes them out,
Right.
pays for vacations.
I actually have a client that does that for a living, actually.
That's a medical sales rep?
Yeah. Oh, shut up.
But the
Oh, yeah. They
I know they pay very well.
He bought a new truck, man.
Yeah.
Cash, by the way. Anyway, so go ahead.
Well, but the thing is that, and it's not like it's not necessarily the doctors are being bought.
No.
It's that this information is right there in front of them, and it's easy.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else that human beings do in life. Do you want the easy or the hard? And it's really easy to default to the easy.
Yep.
And so, of course, Western medicine's going to have its own take, and the pharmaceutical companies, that's where they make their money. And so they're going to court the doctors, and the doctors, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a doctor these days. No. There are so many people that they have to deal with and see and whatever, and then so many legalities and so much insurance information and stuff. So
insurance is dictating what they can and can't do,
right.
what they can and can't prescribe.
And so there has to be alternative medicines, functional medicine, and
but I think it's finding a way for us all to work together as a team.
Yep.
That's when we tend to see a lot of success is when you have our buy-in. We're not blindly trusting us, but we've educated you on what we want to do and why, and you understand it. And then we get your doctor on board. So then when we say, hey, we need to look at A, B, and C, when you go to them, they're, yep, I agree with that. Let's do that. They do. We get the answer we need. They help us, and then we can work together as a team. We need to find a way to create that partnership with the medical world.
Well, and I think when your clients have success and they talk to the professionals that they interface with about that success, that helps create that. But as far as the why, I told you, didn't I, that I was like a little 2-year-old. Why? That's one thing I've really.
Yeah.
That's
but
one.
You need to go to bed. Why?
No. It's. I love it though, because if I have clients that's starting a program and they don't ask me questions, or not, like I've had multiple clients, and I'll be like, hey man, do you have any questions? I'm like, oh no, I'm good. I'm like,
are you sure?
Are you sure?
We get worried when you don't ask questions.
Yeah.
We don't want you to question every decision we make just for the sake of questioning it, but you need to understand why we're asking you to go low carb, why we're cutting, why we're increasing,
Oh yeah, she asked.
And that's one thing that I've very much valued about Unfinished Lifestyle is that, sometimes doctors don't have time to tell you why. Or when I was pregnant with my first child and I was going to a certain GYN and I started asking questions, she basically said, if you're going to question things, you need to find a different doctor, because I don't want to have to, like, if something comes up, I want to be able to do what I need to do and not have to, worry about answering your questions. And I'm thinking,
well, I guess I'm going to go find a new doctor.
I'm going to find a new doctor. But you guys have done great at, and I need to, I'm far enough into the program and I've done the cycle one time that I think I'll have more refined whys.
Absolutely.
So that I can know for sure that I can stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And
when people ask you, Sherri, why are you doing this? You can explain to them and sound like you understand it and help them to understand. Not just like, oh, well, because, Johan said that we're going to reduce my carbs right now and I got to do my hour of cardio. So, well, that's not a reason why. That's just what you're doing.
Yeah. And again, coming back to what was it like before I started with Yo, I couldn't buck hay. I hated pictures of myself. I look so round and fluffy. No, I'm fat. I didn't, we travel a lot, and my husband's a professional videographer and, and has professional cameras. And I just hated seeing pictures of myself. And then I didn't have the energy or stamina. That was part of what my goal was, energy, strength, and stamina, not just weight loss in coming to work with you. But I wouldn't be able to keep up with my adult kids if they wanted to go on a hike or something like that. And I didn't want that to be who I was. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning, my husband would ask me, why is he having you do that? Because we started building up my intake at first.
Yeah.
And he's like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why is he having you do that? You know, and I'm just like, I just need to trust this process. Boy, I learned a lot, you know. And again, the being 61 now, part of the learning is unlearning.
Yep.
Like our culture says that when you age, all these things are going to happen to you. And, you know, just accept the fact that you're going to get old, you're going to have less energy, you're going to need naps, you're going to fall asleep watching television, whatever. You're not going to be able to physically perform, whether it's a long distance run or a hike or whatever it might be. And I bought into that to a degree, you know, that, well, I'm over 50 and well, I'm over 6, you know, and it's just like,
And
that's.
by the way, you do not look 61.
you look
or-
phenomenal for 61.
Or even it's like, even just your energy and your aura and stuff is very youthful too.
Well, thank you. That's a lot of it is because I'm not carrying around another 40 pounds and, and that does, it takes a toll on you, but getting out of that mentality, deciding that what our culture preaches or teaches is, you know, bogus.
Yeah.
Completely. That's part of this journey, right? And it's every bit as important as the part of what do I put in my mouth or how much cardio do I do or how many times do I go to the gym to lift weights. And the why, understanding the why. My husband, you know, it's like, why is he having you do that? Well, I screwed up my metabolism because I'd be busy and I wouldn't eat all freaking day long. And then I'd eat a huge something at night, or I'd stand at the sink and hurry up and, you know, and it was not great choices or whatever. But and then I'd get depressed because I gained weight, so I wouldn't eat, you know, and so I'm
Just
sure
in a vicious cycle.
My whole metabolism was a mess, you know, and Yo's having me do this, and my husband's going, you know, and it kind of, it was discouraging at first, but you answered the whys, you know, why?
There's definitely a lot of resistance. I remember working with Sherri for the first 2 months, especially the first month, and there was a lot of resistance, not only from her, but it's also coming from the partner, right, the husband. So, and I completely understand that, and we had to, and like you said, we had to unlearn a lot of things.
Oh yeah, like,
Was it just resistance in you saying, "Hey, I've lost weight, but I'm hungry," and we're like, "Okay, here's more food." Was it that, or was it just the frequency in which you're eating? We're asking you to drink your water, track your steps, go to the gym.
Part
was
of
it just
it
the whole
was
routine?
that it's completely different from anything that Don's first wife died from cancer, and then he came and found me, and it's, you know, it's a wonderful story, and she was an amazing person, but she struggled with weight gain and loss, and so what we're doing is completely different than what she did and what he knew she had success at.
Do you think then for him, was it more fear-based? Could you
No,
say?
it was just, this is different. I don't understand it. Why is he having you do this? You know,
Why eat
that
more?
doesn't make sense. Why eat more?
Why
That
eat more?
absolutely doesn't make sense. You know, and it's also, this is, you know, he kept saying, "Oh, you could do Weight Watchers. It's a whole lot cheaper." You know, and
Oh, I remember she said that. She said that to me. I'm like, true.
Yeah, he's
it
not
is
wrong
true,
with that. Yeah.
but I'm like, I know me. I wouldn't stick with Weight Watchers. I would do it for 2 weeks and
Because
if
of
I-
lack of accountability?
not seeing results, lack of accountability, not necessarily feeling like I had control. I mean, like, I know a lot of people have had success with that program. And I know that they do, like, you count your little numbers on things, and I'm just
you get like points or a score or
something like that.
right? Yeah.
I'm just,
They actually have an office here in Murray.
Yeah. My mom
Literally.
used to go to it all the time. I remember when I was a kid.
And
I would sit in the
apparently,
parking
I
lot in the
don't
car
know
and
how
she'd go
they
in for
do
her
things,
meeting.
but apparently it's like literally, it's like a whole building says Weight Watchers signs on the wall, and that was pretty interesting to me. I'm like, wow, and the parking lot was full, so I'm thinking, okay.
well, he knew that Pam had success with that. And so he's like, and so what we're doing was completely different than what she had success with. And so he was questioning it. And he's supportive, but like I said, this journey's as much a mental journey as anything else. Mentally, just because he was questioning things, it was like discouraging to me. And he wasn't meaning at all to be discouraging. He's been super, super supportive, but this is a really different program than some of the stuff and it's not a quick, easy fix, but I've learned so much. I mean, just in the beginning when you were having me watch what I ate, but we were increasing what I was eating and addressing what I had done with my metabolism and all that, I learned so much about, oh my goodness, bless my grandmother's dear heart and my mother. They're both gone, but I grew up listening to, you need to finish everything on your plate. There are starving children in Bangladesh and then Ethiopia or whichever way, and I got in bad trouble one time when I told my mom, package it up and send it to him.
You do like to talk back.
Sherri.
But that mentality, do you know when you have people eat at your table, nobody will finish off what's being served. They'll go back for seconds, but they'll cut it in half, and the next person will cut it in half. And so there's always a little bit left over. Well, single mom for 7 years and money was tight sometimes. We didn't waste food. We ate leftovers. We didn't throw things away. And so here's this little bit left and it's not enough to put in the refrigerator, but I can't throw food away. And the starving children. Yeah. So I'd eat it. And big deal. It's only like 2 tablespoons, but it's 2 tablespoons of this and 2 tablespoons of that. And it's next meal, 2 tablespoons. And I didn't realize how much I did that. And when I realized it was at the beginning of the program with you, because I was tracking what I ate and because I had this, and we started with a meal plan. We're on macros now, but we started with a meal plan. And so it was like, I can't eat that. And
You want to talk about the Costco journey?
Yeah, Carol taught me. You just need to tell yourself. Coach Yo says no.
Stop it.
Yeah. No. So I would go to Costco, and you don't have any idea how many calories or carbs or whatever it is that you're counting
In the free samples?
Yeah.
You can have a full meal, a full lunch.
Well,
I used to go to Costco just for that. I'd always love when my parents were like, we got to go to Costco. I'm like, oh, dude, it's so good.
I mean, they're not bad stuff.
It's not bad stuff.
Yeah,
it's not bad stuff
there's
until...
There's a lot of prepared stuff.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
it's not bad until you eat the free samples and you've had them on, you're still hungry, and then you go to the little cafe thing and get the Costco hot dog or the pizza. Or the chicken Caesar bake thing, which those things are so good.
Well... At Christmas time when they have all the candy out, the Lindt chocolate balls.
Yep.
And how many times can you go back
Yep.
and get? But you don't realize. Anyway, I literally, when I was at Costco, I literally would stand in front of the samples and say out loud, I got so many looks. Coach Yo says no. I really, that was how I got through it first. And
It was like,
she texted me that. Guess what? She took a picture of it, right? She took a picture of it, and then she goes, Coach Yo says no. And I'm like, what are you yelling at? You don't yell at me.
No, it was fine. It was what got me through. And we're at Costco. Oh, my goodness. Costco is in Spanish Fork, so it's a 45-minute drive for us, and that's where we go. I tease my husband and say it's his favorite place to shop, but actually probably Cabela's beats it. But anyway, we're at Costco 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes only once a week. But samples were just, that's what you do, right? Yeah. And then cooking. When I cook, how many times do I taste what I'm like? Did
you have to cook for you and then for your husband and for your family? Because I remember you messaged me multiple times throughout our journey, and you said, hey, I don't know how I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm going to this family event and whatever the case may be, and I have to cook for me, and I have to cook for my husband and the whole family. You literally
Wow.
cooked for like, I think you said, what, 12, 14, 15, 16 people
At Thanksgiving, I
in
think.
the middle of the cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Thanksgiving, I think we had 23 people, 22, 23 people in our house. And Christmas was like 17. And there was something else that we did that we had a bunch of people. So, yeah. And thankfully, I came off the cut at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that wasn't
It was right before Thanksgiving we came off.
right. But we did some things throughout the year, whether it was like at Halloween or whenever we had the whole family down or whatnot. And yeah, but Don, most of the time I cooked separate for him, but he learned to be okay with what I was eating, and so I just had to measure mine. And then he's like, yeah, a couple times in, he finally said, this is pretty good. I'm like, yes.
Meal prep doesn't have to be boring.
No.
It's a lot easier now that I'm on macros
Yes.
instead of the meal plan.
Yes.
It was so funny because when I came off the meal plan and switched over to macros, golly, what was that back in September, I think, probably, August, September. This week was the first time I've eaten broccoli since then.
Okay, all right.
I was
Let's
so
just do
tired of broccoli. And I like broccoli, but
Yeah.
I just was
When you
really
eat it all the time,
tired
yeah.
of broccoli. So, yeah.
So how did your family deal with you going through this transition and watching you change over time for the last year, right? Because you went through vacation, which we're going to talk about that in a second, and you've had family gatherings and you're changing and losing a lot of weight. And how does your family or kids deal with that or watching you? Do they say anything?
Number one, my husband's been super, super great. I mean, he's just, he asked a lot of questions at first, and that was hard because I was dealing with changing my lifestyle, changing my eating patterns, changing my exercise. I was needing to get steps in, and I'd been way sedentary. That's part of the reason I gained the weight I gained. But now, anyway, I don't want to say too much, but now he's like, man, I really like your waist, or whatever, or you're looking really good.
Tell him we say you're welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, and it feels good because it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 60. It's nice to have your partner, your husband, or, think that you're attractive.
Yeah.
And
Feel desire. Yeah.
right. And the thing is that, when a female gains weight, they know, and they don't feel attractive. I didn't feel attractive, and he loved me anyway, and he told me it doesn't matter what size you are, I love you, but he really is proud of what I've done, and he really is like, I really kind of enjoy this, Anyway, so
a lot of grabbing. I see it. I see you, Don.
anyway, but and my youngest daughter, she's been super supportive, and her husband's gonna start working with one of your coaches.
Oh,
or
Peyton.
has.
Yeah, Peyton. Yeah. He just started a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, but my daughter's been super supportive, and so for her Christmas gift to me was like, Mom, you've got to get some new clothes, and she took me shopping. Dawn gave her some money, but she also she bought me some things, but the shopping part was, and so I'd go in someplace and I'd say, oh, what about this? And she's like, Mom, no, you don't need to wear something big and baggy and loose that makes you look like a box anymore. You need to wear something that fits your body. So she was great. Well, that's what you look at pictures from your grandmother and your great grandmother. They wear muumuus, so nobody can. And
my
they
grandma,
put their purse.
That's all my grandma wore was muumuus.
Kid in front of them.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
Yep.
Family pictures. You
have one of the kids sit on their lap. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my grandmother. She.
Sorry to disappoint you.
You didn't hear what he said, but Colton was like, I thought my grandma loves me.
But my grandma, all she could fit into were muumuus. She was probably 5
What's
foot.
a
5
muumuus?
foot.
What is that?
It's like I mean, it's like a dress nightgown kind of thing. I don't know how you describe it.
Just a big, bright, with big flowers. The bigger the
Yep.
flowers,
Oh,
the better.
one of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
But she
yeah,
was,
yeah, okay,
she was.
okay.
I think my grandmother's probably 5 foot, 5'1", easily 400 pounds. She was unfortunately, she was a very big woman. But all she could wear were muumuus and slippers. That was it.
Muumuus. Is
It's
it
called a
because
muumuu.
it's
I don't know why it's called a muumuu.
I don't know. That's just
because a cow moos and it looks like I don't know. Is that
it must be. It
It
must
has to be something because of a
gotta be.
size thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Cole's gonna do a
Google
research.
it. That's why we have
For a
him here,
second.
just to record this and then research all of our questions that we have.
So back to the pictures. Right. So you're comfortable wearing and like
So here's another fun thing about clothes. We, my husband's retired military, so we were down in Vegas, and we were on Nellis Air Force Base, and there's a BX there, so it's like a department store kind of, and so we're in there and we're walking through, and for some reason I had sometime in the last 6.5 years had some kind of conversation about sparkly butt pants. I've never had a pair of
Like a
sparkly bedazzled butt,
Yeah.
on your pockets. I've
like
never,
what we used to go buy at Buckle.
yeah. I've never had a pair of sparkly butt pants because I didn't want anybody looking at how big that was. And we were walking through, and my husband remembered that, and he saw these jeans, and he's like, Sherri, go try these on. And I'm like,
Crap.
they're in the junior section. I'm like, done. I can't. I've had 5 kids. I don't wear juniors.
was this
And
like in
I'm
the middle of our cut or
this
like
was
after? Or?
in it was probably in January.
Okay.
This year.
Yeah, okay.
This year. So, but still, mentally, I don't know what size clothes I wear. When my daughter took me shopping, I didn't know what size clothes I wore. Like the lady at Buckle said, what size jeans? I'm like, I have no idea. When I started with you, I was in a 14. Actually, they were really tight 14s. I was poured into them, and I wore extra large shirts, right? So we're in the junior section, and he hands me this pair of jeans, and I'm like, these are never going to fit me. And they were 7/8s. And he said, well, what's the next size up? 9/10s. And so he hands me both. He says, I want you to try these on, the 7/8s, first. So I said, fine. Well, I'm wearing the 7 8s today.
Yeah.
Are these them?
Yeah.
That you're in?
She's
Ooh.
wearing it right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Those are bedazzled jeans.
Is it bedazzled?
They are. Just
They
a
are?
little bit.
Hell yeah.
All right. We're going to have to do a tour of the
With that little spin.
just for Dawn purposes.
Well, and when my daughter took me shopping, some of the tops we got were size medium.
Wow.
And gym shorts now are mediums because the extra larges that I had fall off.
Well,
So
Okay, so wait. So your husband hands you the 7/8s, says try these on. You go into the changing room, you put them on.
You try both
What-
sides. You
what-
try
just
both
the
sides.
7/8s.
Just
What was the reaction when you put them on? And we were like, oh shit.
Well, it was like super excited, but I want to cry
Yeah.
at the same time.
Oh, I
it
love
was
that.
it was
I think I
What was
remember.
what was his reaction?
Yeah, what was his reaction?
well, we're on
Should-
video.
Okay, listen,
Don, my man.
my man. Okay, but it's. I understand your friends and family are gonna watch this podcast, so we'll keep it PG-13. I mean,
he was
Very happy.
yeah.
it was very happy though.
He was very supportive.
I think I remember.
Very supportive.
I think I remember you texted me that same day. And I remember you were telling me you were so happy about it, and I just responded back. And that's the thing that I like about Sherri, like any accomplishment that she has along the way, and I mean positive and both negative too.
Yeah.
But she always texts me, and I save them all my text messages, and I love seeing that because it's like because I want to go back and look. And when she was doing her check-ins, and she does not wear sports bra at all. And she always will have to wear long pants or leggings and then a shirt. And which is fine for a while. And I know her body's changing. Like I can see the size. And then all of a sudden she was wearing a sports bra one day.
He told me to.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, our rule is we want you to wear something you'd feel comfortable wearing around family if the situation permitted. we do need to see, you know,
Yeah.
we do need to see quads and hamstrings. We need to see your back, your abs, your stomach. But we don't want you to be revealing with it.
Right.
That's
and
the biggest thing.
And he said, like, if you're comfortable, it would be really helpful for me to be able to see.
Yes.
You know, and so he encouraged me to get a shorter pair of shorts, and if I was comfortable, if I would be willing to wear a sports bra in my check-ins. And so that was another time we were in Arizona, and I think and Don took me shopping, and we got the shorts that were mediums, and it was another thing that he did. He said, "Try these on." I'm like, I wear extra large. I don't wear mediums, you know, and they were a little snug, but they fit me better than the extra larges did. And so I walked out of that store with shorts, and I don't wear them to the gym, but I do wear them for check-in.
Or around the house or something. I remember
Yeah.
because you took a picture when you were hanging out outside in Hurricane. It was like super warm outside a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. And you're wearing shorts and I think it's sports bra, if I remember correctly.
I was in a swim top.
Oh! Wait, is that new?
Yeah, I had to go get.
Was another
new-
thing Don encouraged you to try on?
He booked a cruise for May, and he's been complaining. I've never booked a cruise 2 months in advance. He booked a cruise for May, and I'm like and then he also for Christmas he got me scuba certification lessons.
Nice.
So
That is super cool, though.
Scuba's
I mean, it's
fun.
not
It's
not.
fun.
I mean, who is there any other 61-year-old female that are able to? Hey, let's go scuba diving. Hey, let's wear bikini tops. Hey, let's wear. That's this is awesome.
So but my swimsuit doesn't fit me anymore. So we went to Scuba, and of course they put on a wetsuit, your first pool experience or whatnot. But then when I take the wetsuit off, I'm like, my swimsuit's hanging down to my knees. I'm like, I've totally shrunk out of it. And so he's like, yeah, before any more scuba lessons, you need to get a new swimsuit. So it was warm enough in Hurricane that I just had to sit outside in the sun in a swimsuit.
Wow. Would you ever do
You
that?
had to, or you had the opportunity to? Yeah.
Well, you know, I had to do some paperwork for work, and who wants to do that? So
Figured
it
make
was
the
nice
most of it.
outside, and you know, if it's February and it's 70-something degrees, it's like
I'll take it.
yeah.
I'll take
So
it.
let's recap really quick. So now that we get to know you a lot, I didn't realize how funny you are, by the way, Sherri. This is probably the most I've ever spent talking to Sherri. You're hilarious. So let's go back to when you first started. You weighed what weight?
183.
And that was back in March 2024. And then we started the program in March, and then you went down to around May, June. When did you go to Europe?
We were in Europe all of May and the beginning of June.
Okay, so you were there for like 30 days essentially,
At
right?
least.
At least. And I remember when she was messaging me when we first started, and you were so scared of starting the program, and then how do I do this in Europe and whatnot. So can we go into that journey of you going to Europe?
Yeah, it was.
And how many pounds did you lose, by the way?
Oh, that's the only vacation I've lost weight on. I lost 8 pounds on. I mean, that's usually what I gain when we go on vacation. But and being gone for an entire month, I thought, oh, I'm going to just balloon, and what am I doing? But I'd learned a lot. You know, I learned about my habits. I learned about my mentality about food. Not everything, but I'd learned a lot in 2 months. And I learned about portions. Like, I was on the meal plan, and that was really good to be on the meal plan instead of on macros at that time, because I could see what those portions looked like. Consistently, it was the same thing day after day, meal after meal. And I like food, and I'm like the sauce queen, so it was a little hard. But
Well, and the food out there is so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much different. It's fresher. It's just less processed. Like the
Yep.
food where you went, especially, you know, Italy and Spain and all, that's
Yep.
so good.
Well, because for 2 months I'd been on the meal plan and I knew what those portions were that I was eating, it helped me to to be intuitive, like you said, be intuitive about your eating. Stop when you're full. Don't overeat. You know, because like cruise ship, it's
free
all
food,
you can
24/7.
eat. Yeah, it's all you can eat, and be intuitive. Don't overeat, whatever, and really the mental part is also, what do I want to accomplish, and why do I want to? I mean, the why is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was important to me to be able to be active with my kids, my grandkids. It was important to me to be able to help my husband buck hay. It was important to me to have the strength and stamina to do whatever I wanted. For instance, if my husband happened to buy me scuba certification, I can do that. And I don't have any question now that I can do that. And so, less processed food in Europe, smaller portions, delicious. I mean, they have cheeses over there that are to die for. I love cheese.
She was sending me pictures.
The cheese, and when we were in Barcelona, my wife and I, the jamon that they have, that cured ham. You just see like big legs hanging for the prosciutto. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was in heaven. I'm pretty sure I ate my body weight in just cured ham.
Oh, man. And you go into their grocery stores and it's like all kinds of cheese, all kinds of cured meats.
But it's the color that surprised me, which is very random. Here, it's very muted. Like it looks good. Some foods here, I go to the store and all that, it looks appetizing, but it's like everything's so bright over there. And it catches your eye. And that's the thing that makes you like, okay, I got to try all of this.
Oh, and the breads. The breads.
Lord have mercy. The bread, the cheese, the meat, and the coffee.
The breads and
oh my God,
and the olive oil.
Yes,
the olive oil is like
it's different. It is different.
It is
my parents was here. I think back in January, February. They brought a big bottle of olive oil, and it tastes so good. I was like, "Yo."
Well, because most of the smaller villages like Italy, Greece, even where kind of near Serbia, where my family is. Each village will sometimes have a certain olive that they grow, and then they make the olive oil right then and there, so it's very fresh, and they just bottle it and send it off. Or here, I mean, it's just a big plant. Olives are going into all these machines, are just getting smashed, things added to it, so it's okay, but it's nothing like fresh olive oil that you can just dip the bread in.
Yep, and that was breakfast. Yeah. Like every hotel had, bread, different kinds of
pastries, the coffees, the cheese,
and I
meat.
was really surprised too, because you still checked in every week. She still checked in every week, and then we figured out that you lost 8 pounds when you came back. That was like mind blown to me, because I didn't think that was going to happen. My thought process was like, oh, she's going to weigh exactly the same, and that's a win.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: you had me start walking in March when I started with you.
Okay.
If I hadn't done that, I don't think I could have done what we did on that trip. There was one day we walked 14 miles. I think the day we went to Pompeii.
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't have walked that much.
Well, and out there you have no choice but to walk everywhere. Yeah. In Barcelona, we had to walk everywhere. You could get a taxi or, a Lyft or whatever to go places, but you don't really do that. It's just okay, we're going to go here. It's going to be a 20-minute walk, and then you just go. It's easier to walk than it is to drive. So that's good that you started walking before you went.
Yeah. I wouldn't have, again, the whole stamina and endurance thing, I wouldn't have had it. I would not have been able to do that. That's how sedentary my lifestyle was.
So then you came back, and then you weighed, you started 183. What was the lowest weight? Right when we finished our cut.
I think it was about 142.
142. Wow.
143, 142, right in there.
And that was kind of like when we switched everything from meal plan to macros.
Well, no, that was after we started macros. That was about a month and a half after we started macros. Gotcha. Yeah. Macros that was hard for me to adjust to.
A lot of our clients did too. We same.
Yeah,
Colton. He's raised.
And we do preface it with you're gonna fail when you first do it, and that's fine because it's something you've never done before, but it's going to take a little bit of time, but once you understand it, it's so easy.
Yeah, and I'm super grateful. Again, the why part. I'm super grateful because I feel like I have some control. Whatever happens in the next 25 or 30 years of my life, I know enough that I can be aware of what I'm putting in my body, what I'm fueling myself with. The macros were hard at first, and the biggest thing about that, the hardest thing, is that I didn't plan ahead. I tried to go at it at first with, okay, I'm going to eat something, and then I'm going to figure out what the macros were and figure out how many more I have left in the day.
Yep.
And
but then you do that, and you're like, oh crap, I'm over everything.
Fats. I'm over on fats,
and it's halfway through the day.
Yeah. And so I'm better now. Like yesterday's macros, I was under on everything, but by no more than 6 grams. That was the lowest under I was. Instead of going 20 over or whatever, so.
Even honestly, 20 over, it's not bad.
No, but I was proud of myself yesterday for like one thing was 2 grams under, one thing was 4 grams under, and one thing was 6 grams under.
What did that taught you in terms of what you see in the labels now?
Oh yeah, I had never read labels before, and G. Hughes, I got to meet the guy. He's my best friend.
we all do.
Because, like I said, I love different flavors and I love sauces, and I love G. Hughes because the sodium is lower, the sugars are non-existent, so the carbs are lower, and it's just like
Still flavorful.
Yeah, I love the pineapple and ginger, and
their salad dressings are also really good.
Yeah.
Right now I'm using the Italian salad dressing on my 0 carb days, and it's a lifesaver.
I love
so
the
good.
ketchup. I don't know why the ketchup. I cooked it. Yeah. Anyway, ketchup. But yeah, so you get to learn a lot about labels. Yeah, I know.
G. Hughes, if you're listening to this, please sponsor us.
Sponsor us. It's really interesting because when the thing about our coaching is that if we don't do it ourselves first, we won't implement it to our clients. And so there's so many different ways to coach. There's coaches out there, they would bring you in as a client and immediately go on a deficit because they want to get that result within the first couple of weeks. There's so many coaches they don't utilize the blood work. They don't look at your hormones. They don't ask certain questions. They don't use DEXA scan, for example. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So you went from 183, your lowest was 142. And was the cut hard for you?
There were things about the cut that were hard at first. But we just started another cut yesterday or 2 days ago, something like that. And I'm so excited and so happy because it's so much easier than not being on the cut. And I think, again, that's the mentality part. I know exactly what I'm doing. And when I came off the cut after Thanksgiving, I really didn't know what am I doing? What is my purpose? What is my goal? And when you're working on strength and lifting and stuff like that after you've come off the cut, because I'm not running and getting a DEXA scan every month, I don't necessarily see results because the scale's not changing. It may creep up a little bit, but it's not changing a whole lot. And I know that I can increase weights on this machine or that machine, but somehow that doesn't seem as significant because it's not like increasing by 100 pounds. It's increasing by 10 or 20 and I don't necessarily look back to last July when I really started to be regular in doing weight training. It's looking back 3 days ago so it's a little more difficult to mentally stay in the game when you're off the cut. When you're on the cut, there are some respects where it's easy because you're seeing the scale move. You know what your goal is. The mentality of this trip is so important. And I did things like I dug out an old pair of jeans that I haven't worn for well over a decade, I'm sure. And they were size 8s. And I hung them up on a hanger in my bathroom on the back of the bathroom door. So if I'd go in the bathroom and shut the door, I'd see those jeans. Yeah. So I was visualizing what I wanted every day, right? I also made silly little signs that had weight goals.
Yeah.
And I decorated them with colorful markers, and I hung them up in my office, and I took a picture of them, and I put them on my screensaver on my phone. And so I knew that this week or for the next 2 weeks, this is my goal. And I broke it into small parts. I knew what my overall goal was, but 3 pounds or 2 pounds, and I was constantly reminding myself while I was on the cut what my goal was. When I came off the cut, it's just like,
now what?
I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know.
Can we elaborate on this really quick? I just want to voice this, because for those of you that are listening to this and you're going through your journey, and the biggest thing that we coach, I think we might have had this conversation, was if it's not written, it's not real. The most important thing about that goal, if it's not visible, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I have a vision board in my bedroom. We have vision boards in our office, and most of our clients we adapted to that, because you can write your goals however you want to write them, right? If you put them in your notebook and you never see it for a full year, you'll never accomplish. Maybe you may accomplish 25% of it, right? But the fact that you made it visible every single day, I did the exact same thing when I first cut 2018. Same thing. I saw my pictures. I saw my fat pictures. I call it the fat yo, fat yo to fit your transformation. I see it all the time. And I still see it as I'm going through consultations with the clients. I see that old self. I'm like, that gives me a little bit of a perspective and where I want to be. And I will never go back to that. And by the way, 142, when was the last time you weighed that low?
I can't remember. and it's a different 142, I think. Yeah. It's a different 142 just because, and I know that because of the way my clothes fit me, and okay, maybe you're not ready for this, but I'm taking over. So, we'll talk about the DEXA scan.
Oh yeah.
So I had a DEXA scan multiple years ago.
I think it was, if I remember seeing it, 2017, 19? Something like that.
But I weighed about 10 pounds less than because I had gained weight. Again, while I was in a former marriage, and it was towards the end of it. So there was a lot of stress, and I'd gained weight, and I had this DEXA scan, and I had my body fat percentage was over 40. And I was 10 pounds heavier when I started with you. And so I'm sure, and I had been sitting on my butt for 6.5 years.
So you were about 190s?
I was 183.
Oh, okay.
And I was 173 actually when that DEXA scan, the early DEXA scan.
Got it.
So I'm sure my body fat percentage was about 40%. When I went in September, so we were still in the cut. When I went in September.
You and Carol went at the same time, no?
And I can't remember what that one was. That one was like...
July?
That one was probably July.
Yeah. Okay.
When I went in July, it was like 25%. Okay. Right? And that was good.
That's really good. That's really, really good.
I was...
No.
But my reaction was like, that was okay.
Yeah.
But then I went again in September by myself. Right.
Like towards the end of our cut. Okay, I remember that now.
It's September 24th, actually.
This is the day I'll live in her head forever.
Actually, I remember this number because you came in and you did it with Carol the first time when Carol did hers, and she was 22%. Okay, because that was her finishing her cut, and that was really impressive for Carol. For you, I remember your number was 27 something.
My first one was 27. With Carol.
Yes.
It was 27.
Correct.
Okay, so I knew it was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in September 24th, I went and got a DEXA scan by myself, and I was like emotional mess. I was just like, please God, let this be at least 25%. Please. I was so afraid that it wasn't going to have moved very much, because it was probably July when I had that first one done. So it was 27. I think it was 27.2.
So this is 2 months later. After
September. It was the end of September. So July was the first one. So this was the end of September. I went in and had it done, and I was really, really stressed. I'm sure my heart was racing, and the gal came out with the results, and she gave them to me, and I felt so silly. Here I am, almost 61 years old, and I started bawling.
You started crying. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I literally cried.
What?
I was standing there.
What was the number?
21%.
Ooh, you would go. Okay, but so think about that though. From the end of your previous marriage to now, you've dropped, let's just call it 20% body fat. Do you know how much that is? How much fat mass that is?
Okay, so this is another cool thing that, like I said, my husband was super, super supportive, and he continues to be. We were shopping in Walmart and in the food section, and he called me over and he said, "Sherri, come here." And this was August, maybe September, I'm not sure. He called me and he came over. I came over there. He was in the meat section, and he handed me this big old brisket.
I remember that.
He handed me this big old brisket. It was 16 or 17 pounds.
Wow.
And then he handed me another one. He said, "I just want you to hold these up, one on each side."
Didn't he take a picture?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm starting to remember
He
this.
took a picture.
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you realize you've lost this much weight?" And here I am holding like 35 pounds of brisket, and they're huge. They're heavy, you know, and I was just, I mean, it was like a lot of times on the group call, somebody will say, "You've lost as much weight as a 4-year-old or as a 6-year-old.
That's a whole child.
That's a whole child, you know? Yeah. And it's just like, have those people take a picture with a kid that age, or have them go into the meat section and grab a brisket that weighs almost as much as the visual of that does incredible things mentally for you. You know, it was like, I knew I had lost 32 or 34 pounds, whatever it was, you know, and that's kind of a big deal. And I hadn't replaced my wardrobe at all yet. So I was still wearing loose, baggy pants. So I didn't feel like super attractive or anything, because I looked like a slob, right? But seeing those pieces of meat and feeling the weight of that and thinking, I used to have to drag that around. No wonder I was tired all the time.
Well, we were talking about on the community call this morning, you know, his former client, Tasha, she's still working with you. And we do this to a lot of our clients. In between sets, we'll have them go grab a dumbbell of how much weight they've lost and try to walk around with it. So imagine, in between sets, next time you're at the gym, go grab a 35, 40-pound dumbbell and just start walking.
Between sets?
Yeah, between sets.
That will give you a different perspective as well.
Yeah.
I want to make Heather do that, but I don't know if she can physically hold 100-pound
100 pounds?
and walk around everywhere.
I want to go back to that moment when you did your last DEXA and she handed you the paper. I could imagine that moment, and you're getting emotional right now talking about it, because I got a little emotional because she was talking about it, because I didn't know about this. And I could imagine being there, being the person who handed her the scan, and you start bawling, and I would be like, what is going on, right? And did you so bring us back to that moment. What is that?
Like I said, I was really afraid that I wouldn't even hit 25%. And I'd worked so hard, and what if I didn't hit 25%? You know, I was just mentally all over the place. And I saw that, and it was like, man, I'm proud of me, and this, you know, it's expensive to work with you guys. And this is a number on a piece of paper. How I feel about myself is much more important, but it's like this number on this piece of paper says, see, this is worth it. You're worth it. You know, I'm worth it. and I just was super proud, and it's like I told the girl, it's good, they're happy tears,
She's like, whoa.
You're like,
she's like,
what
I
the?
said, I was so concerned that there wouldn't have been very much of a shift, and I knew how much I'd worked. I knew how hard I'd worked. I knew how consistent I had been up to that point. Not that I was perfect.
Yeah.
But I really have been pretty consistent. I take Sundays off, and there are times that I miss, but like we went to Arizona for a week, and I got up every morning early and worked out at the little gym at the resort, and then I went and played, because Don likes to go and fly his drone and take videos and explore and see what there is to see, and we did Sedona, and we did, it's just.
What was the sense of relief like when you saw that number? I mean, did that number represent just everything you'd been doing for the past year to finally say, like,
Yeah,
it's working?
I worked
You've
from
done
March
it.
till September, and look what we've accomplished, and look what's possible.
Yeah.
And not just for me, for anyone, for any female that's over 50 or 55 or 60. Don't believe the lies that television tells you. Don't believe. Like I said, I'm off all the medication I was off of. I'm sleeping. I have energy. I'm physically able to do things.
You're living and enjoying life the way it's supposed to be done.
My husband says, I don't want to go to the gym with you because I don't want You're
gonna embarrass him.
Outdo me. No.
That is hilarious.
Did you think these results that you got the DEXA scan again, going back to that, when you started, did you think that was possible to achieve?
And by the way, before you answer that, she actually gained 10 pounds of muscle from the original number.
Yeah.
So
you
down
actually gained
fat and you added muscle
and
tissue.
you added muscle.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, did you think it was possible or probable that you'd make you'd make changes, but it would be this significant?
Well, yes and no. Carol's 6 months or a year ahead of me, and I've seen what Carol has accomplished, and that's another thing that you guys do that is so valuable and that I appreciate so much. You create a community, and it's not just a team of coaches, but it's a community of like-minded people who have the same types of goals, maybe different whys. Yeah. But Carol's been super inspiring, but also accountability a little bit there, and encouraging, super encouraging. So yes, I knew, but I didn't know what it would mean to me. I didn't exactly know what it would look like, and the meaning, the significance that would have, how it helps me to feel about myself, how it helps me to feel about accomplishing other things. Like, right, this is crazy. Like, why should I stop learning and growing? Yeah. So physically I'm sticking with, we're doing another cut. I want to see what other results I can have. And it's more about strength. It's more about lean muscle tissue now for me than it is about the scale. I mean, there's still the scale. We still do check-ins. So I'm still continuing this physical thing, but I'm also getting unlazy about other things. Yeah. I'm also taking this mentality and applying it in other areas of life, in that, again, just because I'm retired or semi-retired doesn't mean I need to quit learning and growing. Yeah. So one of the things that I decided to do in January this year was start taking piano lessons. So
that's good though. But that's good though.
So see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just
and scuba diving.
And scuba diving. It's not just this one area, this one slice of my life. The principles and the practices that you learn working with Unfinished Lifestyle. Look at the significance of that name. Yeah. You can apply to other areas.
Yes.
Just because I'm older doesn't
doesn't mean
I
anything.
need to stop.
No.
And so what does this look like if I start applying it here and there?
Yeah.
Like, what is there that I can't do?
You could literally do anything you want, but I also want to ask, you come home with this DEXA result, and when you first started with him, Don was like, why is he having you do this? And there was a hesitancy to his tone. And then you hand him the paper. What was his reaction?
He was actually in the car in the parking lot waiting for me.
So what was his reaction when you got in the car?
Were you still crying at this point? Yeah.
Was he like, whoa?
What just happened?
He's like,
Yeah.
he wasn't, just like the gal, he was like, it's like,
He's trying to figure out, is this, do I need to hug her or do I need to get out of the car and run?
no, I'm so lucky to be married to him. He's so supportive, and he told me how proud he was of me. You know, I mean, it was hard just being able to talk, and I choked out. You know, I was afraid I wouldn't even make it to 25. You know, and but that's another thing about the importance of the community that you create. When you're working on physical changes in your body, you're the only one that can do that.
Yes.
And he's been there and he's been supportive, but there's a level on which he doesn't understand. Like when I'm struggling to go to the gym and I'm going again by myself, and it's the mental game. It's just once I'm at the gym, I'm fine, but it's just the getting out the door, you know? And he's like, well, just make friends at the gym. I'm like, yeah, that's not how gyms work.
No.
It's not that easy.
You don't go there to, the high school kids go there.
High school kids do. Yeah, a lot of people do make it their social hour, you know.
But I like, everybody has earbuds and headphones, and he's just like, well, if you don't have anyone to make a friend at the gym, and then you can have a workout buddy. I'm like, yeah, you know. But there is a certain extent of what you're doing that you just have to do by yourself. And when you're having, you know, maybe when you've fallen off the trail a little bit and it's being difficult, that community that you've created is so important because they've been there and done that. You know, when you talk to Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I know what you're saying. And it's just like, okay, she can do this. I can do this too, you know? And Carol just being like, just remember what it is, why you're doing this. Remember what it is that you want to be able to do because you're creating this in your life.
Yep.
I before we go into our last question that we wanted to ask, and I want to share something with both you and Colton. Is he outside right now? Is it okay?
No,
okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
okay.
just I forgot to turn.
So
my phone off.
we're about 5-10 minutes out.
Yeah.
And I want to share this with Colton and Sherri and all the listeners that are listening to this and are watching this. And something significant happened to me while I was out in Florida. We were in Epcot, which is part of the Disney World resort, I would say. And one of the first thing we did, we got there, it was a little rainy. The first thing we got there, we lined up for Pluto. And I just sat, and the family was standing in line, and I don't like to stand in line, so I just stand outside of the line. I just sat towards the exit. And I'm just sitting there I was sitting on the stroller, actually. I don't know how I can fit on it, but I did. And I'm sitting there.
It's because you're on a cut.
Yeah, something like that. And so I'm sitting there and on my phone, and I look up, and this family was like crying. And I'm trying to get emotional about it, but the family was crying, and the photographer was crying. And then the line, everybody was like sniffing, and I'm like, what is going on, right? And then I look up. There's this little boy, about 7, 9, 10, was on the wheelchair, and he had a ventilator out of his throat. And I'm like, oh, it must be something about him or whatever. And then I noticed the parents and the grandparents were wearing a shirt called Make-A-Wish. So there's a foundation, it's called Make-A-Wish Foundation. And apparently, I didn't know this at the time, apparently it's basically for kids that are their last wish. And they only have a couple of months, if not weeks, to live. And then I connected the shirt and the kid and this little boy, and then everyone else is crying. And mind you, I had my glasses on, right? And I'm like sobbing, standing at the end of the exit, because the Pluto, that person was in charge of that costume. They spent probably 20 minutes just hugging all the family members, and it was just quiet. It was just like this. It's quiet. And I'm sitting in the corner, all awkward, and I'm like bawling my eyes out because I'm understanding now what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I realized something. The rest of us here in line get to be here. We want to be here. We can, because we can walk, we can live, we can breathe, we can eat, we can change our lives if we wanted to. And I relate to that, and I'm like, here I am watching this kid in his dying wish, wanting to be at this park, and there's people out there that can do something with their life, because whether it's weight loss or whatever the case may be, that are not willing to change because they're
too set in their ways. They're too stubborn.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is.
And
then there's this little guy who as to a very high level, his family all wishes there was something they could do to prolong his life.
And
there isn't. Where we all have that ability to be like, okay, yeah, I've got to make a change.
And as a parent watching it, now that I have my own little boy, I'm like, dude, like, if that was my son, bro, I would. And the whole family was crying, and I'm crying. The whole line was crying. The photographer was like crying, and I'm just like, dude, this is the coolest, but also the craziest thing I've seen in real life, because it's like, this is the closest to death that I've seen someone in like this park, right? Yeah. Or in this event. And like, I've seen someone in their deathbed, I would say, but to this little boy, and then I transitioned that to like, wow, I do this. We do this for a living. We help a lot of people change their lives, and a lot of people manage to change their life, like you. But there's some people out there, and I said, if you're able to move, to walk, and talk, and eat, and you can do anything to change your lifestyle, now is your chance to do it, because you can. There's some people out there that cannot do anything.
They wish they could. But
wish they could. Yeah. You go to the gym because you can. We go to the gym because we can. We eat healthy because we can. There's people and kids out there that literally cannot do it. So appreciate what you have. Understand that you are able to change, and go change not only for you, change for your kids, change for your husbands or your wives. Change because you're able to do so. I just want to share that with you guys. That was hard for me not to get emotional. I know. That was hard for me to get, because this is like the 5th or 6th times I'm talking about it. But yeah, I just want to share that with everybody that's listening. And we have a lot of people subscribed to our YouTube, actually sharing our podcast, sharing the YouTube, sharing the Spotify. Listen. And when we don't put anything out the next 2 weeks, people ask. They're like, hey, man, I'm waiting on your podcast. I'm like, crazy how much people watch, because we made such a huge impact within our own community. I wish we can reach out to more and more people, but we can only do so much. But I just want to say thank you for leading the way, because as being 61, a female, going to church, traveling, being a single mom for how many years, and the fact that you managed to make this change is the proof of people that I can actually get it done.
Well, and I think you get to choose. Like you said, that's the most amazing, important gift that we have, that gift of choice. And we have one life. How do we want to choose about us? And the bottom line is, you're worth it. I'm worth investing in, and that's what this is. It's not an easy thing, and I struggled along the way. I have a lot of friends that have jumped on shots and whatnot, and they're not putting any effort in, but I know that, and I've had friends that have significant, serious consequences because of those shots, including someone who almost died. And it messes with my mind, when I'm doing the hard work and I'm thinking, man, why don't I just do the easy stuff? But I'm choosing me and investing in me, investing what it costs to get a coach, because you know more than I do. I don't know what I don't know. Investing in a coach because every body is different. And I love that you guys personalize things. I know someone who bought a big name online influencer and they got a package deal that, one size fits all. Here's what your meal is and here's what your workout is. And that's not what you do. And when I have questions or when I say, I am so sick to death of, you change it up for me, so it's personal. So it's to my body, and I'm learning about that. You've taught me about my own, how I work, how my body responds to things. I'm investing in me, just taking the time and assessing what is it that I want with my life. What in the years that I have left, what do I want to be able to do? What do I want my relationships to be like? How do I want to be part of that? And because I'm worth it, then I've taken time to research what are the best ways for me. For me, those things included hormone replacement therapy. It included hiring a coach so that I can learn better how to take care of myself, so I can show up better for my family, for my friends, and involved in the bigger community, the bigger world.
And I was going to ask you what was your advice, but that was the best advice without asking that question. Sherri, this is awesome for you to be on. And I love what you're doing with yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the people that are listening, for all the 60-year-olds out there that think that you can't change. I'm going to call bullshit on that if you're watching this right now. It is what it is, but this has been awesome. I love seeing people change and continuing work with more and more women and men in the future. Unfortunately, we are at this crisis of there's so many obese and overweight people, especially in America. Unfortunately, that has to, we can only do so much, but let's make a change together. And anything else you want to add?
You all hit nail on the head.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube, listening to our Spotify, sharing our reels, share everything that we have on all social media platforms. It's been amazing to see our company grow, to see our clients grow, and continuing to refer your friends and family and coworkers to us. It's been amazing to see that. And on to the next. Welcome to, this is episode 34.
34.
34. And see you next time.